We want to talk about the low carbon economy that we all know is coming up on the horizon and how to future-proof your businesses, your investments for that green market revolution. So you can see our panelists' names on the slide, but I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your company and what you do in each company. Let's start with Elodie.
Hi everyone, so I'm Elodie Broad, I'm the Head of Impact and ESG at Balderton Capital. Balderton, we're a multi-stage venture capital fund who've been backing European founders for the last 20 years. We have an early and a growth fund, and we invest cross-sector, so fintech, B2B SaaS. We are actually invested in Sweep, digital health, you name it. Oh, and AI, obviously I can't forget AI. And delighted to be on this panel today.
Thank you, Elodie. Nancy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nancy Powell. I'm the UK and I lead for HP. Hewlett-Packard Inc. Manufactures a range of technical hardware, laptops, printers, peripherals. And my role within that organisation is very much to sit with one foot inside the business and one foot outside the business to make sure that all the technical experts that are within the organisation are aware of what's important to our customers and how we meet those changing information needs that are coming along, and also, customers, how we can provide them with the information they need for CSRD and similar. So that's me. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Good evening. My name is Darren Sharp. I'm the Head of Energy Projects at Industrial Chemicals. We are an inorganic chemical manufacturer with 6 sites around the UK, predominantly supplying chemicals to the water industry. We are an energy-intensive business with electricity and gas. The ESG platform role to Sweep falls under my remit with a few others at the business to get the system in and running and hopefully complete our net zero journey.
Thank you so much. So, as you can see, I said there's diversity of industries here, so let's dive into it. I want to get some predictions from everybody first about how this mass move towards decarbonisation is going to play out for each of your industries. Nancy, I might come to you first because I feel like what you do is perhaps one of the things that we're most used to in our day-to-day lives.
Yes, using technical hardware. I think the starting point, certainly for me, would be, where we left off with the introduction, which is data. I really hope, my prediction, is it a prediction or is it a hope, that there's a convergence of data, that product carbon footprints and everything that we use and work from with our customers converges in a way that is useful. You can't sit through a presentation, so we've already had the words AI. You can't sit through a presentation and it not be mentioned. I suppose for us in tech hardware vendor space, the real thought is around that energy drawdown that AI is going to involve, and making sure and thinking about whether what AI enables in terms of predictions, in terms of efficiencies, in terms of really driving waste down, making sure that there are 2 sides to that value coin for AI. And then I think probably the final thing is returning assets, is retrieval of assets. I think the targets that are coming out of the tech vendor space around device recovery, materials recovery, not just in traditional areas like plastics and metals, but in mineral recovery. That is really driving how the industry thinks about the future and how it is going to be able to meet the challenges going forward.
Thanks, Nancy. A sound effect there of something being retrieved at the same time as
retrieving materials, urban mining, as
we set that up. Darren, let's talk about industrial chemicals. You've got an absolutely huge energy spend. It's a very different business from what Nancy's talking about. What are your predictions for how this sort of green future is going to play out for what you do?
When it comes to manufacturing, we need energy to make product. We don't make no product, we don't sell, no one gets paid. So I think when it comes to electricity, one way or another, there's a way to decarbonise that, either by on-site generation or by other methods via regos, etc. The biggest problem for us is gas. We use vast amounts of gas in boilers to raise steam. That is our challenge, to decarbonise the gas. The electricity will get done one way or the other. We run a a fleet of HGV vehicles. That will generally come round to either electric or hydrogen, but we still have the elephant in the room, which is the natural gas supply. And for us, that is our biggest challenge that we're looking at.
Thanks, Darren. And Elodie, looking at what Balderton does, your role in the investment value chain, up to now, perhaps not so much in the scope of some of the regulations, the CSRD, which Rachel's going to make us love this evening, that sort of thing, but increasingly so in the future?
Well, yes, absolutely. And I think you need to think about our position in the investment value chain. So our investors, typically institutional investors, are in scope of these new regulations. And so they've set themselves net zero targets and therefore are putting pressure on us to also align the portfolio that we're managing on their behalf to similar targets. So thinking about the future of our industry of VC, a lot of VCs right now are scrambling to figure out what does a VC net zero portfolio look like. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the companies in our portfolio. So our financed emissions are by far our biggest sort of footprint. And so I think we're in a unique position of opportunity for us, very early stage tech startups is maybe less a narrative of decarbonisation and more one of green growth. At least you think that'd be the case. However, in the context of incredibly resource-constrained, time-poor companies, it is sometimes, there is a missed opportunity right now, I would argue, for every single company to try and grow green. So that's really what we're actively working on and where I hope the industry is going.
Thank you. And Rachel, obviously Sweep works with so many different companies doing different things. What sort of predictions can you start to identify right now?
It's the early days, and what we've seen really progressing, but we didn't expect it to progress this way, is the increasing demand of companies who start their climate journey actually in to go even more granular, day after day when it comes to their emissions. They want to go to the pixel of emissions, because once you start to give a dashboard of data to people who are monitoring their sustainability, they want to know more. They want to go to the SKUs, to the SKU level. For example, with L'Oréal, they want to go at the product level, and they want to go at the product level within their business, but also within their value chain. So the amount of data, that is coming in, that wave is just crazy. So it's just confirming that all this is a data project, and that you need to have so many people around the table when you are a company to make sure that governance around the data is starting the right way at first. So the prediction is about that extra financial involving lots of stakeholders in new. We are all going through a transformation. That transition to that low carbon economy means a lot of new paradigms within companies, from a tech standpoint, from a people, organization, restructuration as well.
And obviously predicting is one thing, and we may be right or wrong with our predictions, but we also have to take action in the here and now. So I'm really interested to know what you are all doing. You've laid out how everything's changing for you. Elodie, you were talking about, having to get your perhaps not very mature in terms of ESG portfolio companies involved.
The baby beginners.
Yes.
And I actually keep telling to the companies in the portfolio, I don't believe there's such thing as an ESG expert. I think we're all sort of fast learners. And so I think as the fund manager, we have a unique opportunity, as I mentioned, but also a responsibility to do that education / myth busting, sort of process of, I still have a lot of companies saying, oh, I'm a SaaS company, I don't have a footprint, or, air travel is my biggest concern. So, we are really at the very start of that journey, but we can plant that seed very early. And so we are also, full paying customers and users of Sweep, and using the Sweep for Finance module, we've been able to run a carbon footprinting campaign for our whole portfolio. So obviously helping us meet our own reporting needs to our investors. But really for me, the big value add is first and foremost a bit of an education exercise, an engagement exercise for those companies, getting them going on their climate journey. So that's probably one of the call out initiatives.
That's really interesting. And Nancy, we were talking before about that sort of much greater level of literacy around ESG issues now than perhaps, say, 20 years ago. How are you finding that plays out in your ability to take these initiatives, to map things out, tell people this is where we're going?
It's really interesting because I think, yeah, definitely the conversations and the literacy around sustainability is evolving so quickly. And, you know, just like Elodie says, you've got to be such a fast learner. But interestingly, I would say two sort of key things in the tech space is almost getting hardware and devices to the point where they are going to bypass the user and the persona.
How does that work?
Where it would be where software and hardware is carbon smart. So it schedules updates for when you're plugged into renewable energy, for example. So ultimately, it's editing out the persona, the user, because it will just be able to make the right choices for you, power down, and do all of those things. And I think the second thing that is a huge. I've already spoken about circularity, which is huge, but second and third life devices. I think regulation in France around procurement of tech hardware, 20% of every procurement contract needing to be second life devices, really has prompted that regulatory push in one market to be an opportunity in other markets, where you kind of go, okay, well, which customers would be interested in having second life devices as new? And there are so many of them. And so there's now a real race to get to, you know, to be the provider not only of the best tech hardware, but the best second and third life tech hardware. Mm-hmm. So those are the two, and digital passports. You know, you're going to be able to scan a barcode on the back of your device, and the information that will be loaded onto there, that it will tell you about the whole sustainability story, climate story of that hardware will be really exciting.
It's quite an exciting idea. It brings me on to something Darren mentioned, actually. At Industrial Chemicals, you're trying to get to a point now where you're looking at emissions per plant, but also per person, per product that you're producing. It sounds like a huge challenge, but tell us about it.
So the majority of our chemicals produced go into the water market. So any of the big water utilities are now putting vast pressure on our business to supply more environmental data as part of tenders. To put that in perspective, around about 30% now of an actual tender is environmentally based or net zero based. It presents massive challenges for us. We import raw materials from all over the world by ship. So we can't get the raw materials in the UK, so we have to then account for the emissions of that shipping into the UK. We are lucky enough as a business to have substantially large sites with, if you like, an embarrassment of land available. So we are looking at alternative ways to reduce our energy or replace carboniferous fuels with alternatives, solar being one, but unfortunately we need megawatts, not kilowatts. So we need to take a bit more with a bit more go against it, and that's what we're looking at the moment.
Yeah, so exciting technology playing into it, your data challenges as well, which of course we love talking about at Sweep. Rachel, just to bring all of this together, you know, starting with that data, it is at the heart of all of this, but it's not necessarily obvious for people to know how to start this journey. How do you start it if you're trying to get those granular data levels?
Merci. It's not easy to start, but you can start only if you are exposed, when you are exposed to your data. So first you have to make sure that you are all willing also to open the books, definitely, and to start to compute that data for the books, you know, to be sure to open the books. It's what we are saying to our customers when they are gathering, collecting their data, etc. Is that's fine to make mistakes. That's fine also to just start or to start only with one parameter. That's okay. Don't wait to have all those parameters at once, etc. You can start small as long as you are facing and, you know, confronting your data. That's fine. What is unacceptable is actually to not open the books for your companies, for your employees, for your auditors to come. So starting is also being super humble about where your company is, and make sure that you are involving as many people as possible around the table. Be transparent, and that's okay to have maybe bad data, I would say. Data is always fantastic, but that's okay to have bad data as long as you are just looking at it transparently with humility, and let's start to correct that trajectories, but just start. You have to start. Definitely.
Get going. And we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to just get a couple of thoughts from each of you about ways, how much is the green market revolution going to be revolutionary for what are you doing, or how are you future-proofing against that right now? Darren, I know that you're talking about actually providing completely different products, for example. I am obsessed with hydrogen technology. And you've had some interesting conversations with me about it. But looking at perhaps supplying that to customers as an energy source, that's completely different for your business, isn't it?
We're lucky enough to have 2 or 3 sites which are on some of the proposed hydrogen lines. We've had lots of discussion with Cadent over the last couple of years, but we also have a position, we have jetties and docks to import. One of our primary things we look at the moment is the import of ammonia, and then cracking that ammonia into hydrogen to be used on site. The potential for that to evolve into an additional part of industrial chemicals business and then supply ammonia to third parties to produce hydrogen at source on site is a potential massive growth area for our company. So by looking at decarbonising our own energy usage, we can create a secondary business on the back of that for other customers that we work with at the moment. And that's one of our big focuses at the moment.
Nancy, what's the green market revolution going to look like for HP?
I hope I don't know. I hope it's going to be wild and amazing and much of it unknown. But I think, one of the things, and this certainly brings in our relationship with Sweep, is, to future-proof ourselves will involve taking the rest of your value chain with you. And, Sweep helps some of our channel partners with their carbon footprinting and other processes. But I think future-proofing is to kind of to take everything in the round. When there's AI, when there's hybrid working, many of these things offer opportunities, behavioural, cultural change. And I think, for HP, it will be making sure sustainability wraps itself around all these other trends that are working their way through, the way that we work, the way that we live today.
Elodie, this mass move towards ESG focus, you've laid out some of the challenges, but there are big questions for your industry, aren't there? How do you align, VC portfolios with the Paris Agreement, that sort of thing? Is that where the revolution is, those discussions?
I mean, VC, we're famously, a high risk, high return asset class. So actually, if you talk to me about the green revolution, I think money. We're actually really excited and spent a lot of time looking at the climate tech space, and really excited to be part of that transition and be an actor in that transition by backing some of the biggest sort of climate solutions of tomorrow. And then I think the second thing really in terms of future-proofing our investment strategy is really helping all companies, regardless of what they're building, where they're building, exactly, back to what Rachel was saying, just getting going on that, on their climate journey. They have to understand that they're not going to fulfill their sort of high growth unicorn ambitions if they're not able to get to grips with their climate footprint. And that often always starts with measurement. So,
Absolutely.
Working hard at that.
And I think we've just got time for one word about the futuristic topic of AI, which we're really excited about at Sweep at the moment. Rachel, there is a lot of hype around AI as well. How much is it going to be a part of our future and part of everything in this everyone in this room does?
Yeah, we cannot not embrace AI. Definitely, also, it's not a silver bullet. Definitely. AI is fantastic when, it's working on top of the right data, definitely. But AI is a time to value, actually. And when you are taking that urgency, that climate change urgency that we are all facing, everything that can speed up, the way you are collecting your data, the way you are understanding what's happening, the error, that capacity to understand what are the error, etc. That capacity to understand, thanks to AI, benchmarks what others are doing in the same sector or else. It can speed up things actually. So the more AI is used on top of the right data strategy, definitely, the best it is. AI can be magic, and when we want to go through this green market revolution, I just wanted to, we are calling our customers the forever companies, and we, through this market revolution, we are seeing that status actually of having much more forever companies because embracing, that new ROI of sustainability, powered, speed up by with AI, it's a fantastic competitive advantage. Okay, so AI is boosting actually the competitive advantage of companies. So not perfect, definitely not, and you. But
lots of opportunities.
Considering the urgency,